Dark clouds moved slowly over the small town. The air felt heavy, like something bad was about to happen. People stood in groups on the street, whispering and pointing. Their eyes were fixed on one figure walking alone. It was a girl. But she was not like them. She was an alien. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes too large for her face, and her movements quiet, almost soft. She carried nothing in her hands. She only looked down at the ground as she walked. Yet every step she took made the humans around her uneasy. Mothers pulled their children close. Old men spat on the dirt. Young boys laughed loudly, hoping she would hear. The alien girl had lived in this town for only a few months, but she already felt like she had lived a lifetime of pain. No one wanted her here. People said she was strange, dangerous, and cursed. Some claimed she brought bad luck. Some said she should not be allowed to stay among them. The girl never spoke back. She kept her head low, hoping that silence would protect her, but silence did not protect her. One boy picked up a small stone from the ground. He held it in his hand and looked around at his friends. They laughed and shouted, "Throw it! Show her she doesn't belong here!" The boy's hand shook a little, but he wanted to look brave. He wanted the others to cheer for him. The alien girl heard the laughter. She quickened her steps, her heart beating faster. She wished to reach her small home at the edge of town before anything worse happened, but she knew. Deep down, she knew she would not escape today. The boy raised his arm. The stone felt heavy in his hand, but he threw it anyway. It flew through the air and hit the ground close to the girl's feet. She stopped walking. Her shoulders tensed. The crowd went silent for a moment, waiting to see what she would do. She did nothing. She only kept walking. Another boy picked up a stone. This one did not miss. The stone struck her back. She stumbled forward, gasping at the sudden pain. Her large eyes blinked quickly, but no tears fell. She refused to cry. Crying would make them laugh more. The crowd grew louder. Men and women joined in, shouting cruel words. "Go back where you came from," one man yelled. "We don't need your kind here," said another. Stones began to fall like rain. One hit her arm. Another cut her forehead. Blood, dark and thin, ran down her blue skin. Still, she did not fight back. She curled her arms around herself, trying to shield her body. But she did not lift her voice. Her silence made the crowd braver. They stepped closer. Their faces twisted with hate. The alien girl thought of running. She thought of crying for help. But who would help her? She had learned the truth long ago. No one in this town cared. They all wanted her gone. She was alone. Yet even in her fear, a part of her refused to give up hope. Somewhere in her heart, she still wished just once that someone would see her not as a monster, but as a living being who felt pain, who needed kindness. She wished for someone who could understand her. Another stone hit her shoulder harder than before. She fell to her knees. Dust rose around her. The crowd cheered as if they had won a battle. Children clapped. Adults shouted with anger, their voices echoing through the streets. But then, something changed. The alien girl lifted her head. Through her blurred vision, she saw movement at the edge of the crowd. A shadow, a figure. Someone was stepping forward. The crowd grew quieter, noticing him too. His footsteps were steady. His face was serious. His eyes were sharp, burning with something different from hate. The girl blinked. For a moment she thought she was imagining it. No one had ever stepped forward for her before. No one had ever dared to stand between her and the stones. The figure moved closer. The crowd's shouting slowed. Some people frowned. Others whispered nervously. The alien girl felt her heart pound harder. Who was this human? Why was he walking toward her? The air grew tense. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. The alien girl, bleeding and trembling, tried to rise to her feet. The shadow kept coming closer, each step louder than the last. The crowd didn't know it yet. The alien girl didn't know it yet. But the moment he stepped fully into the circle of hate, everything was about to change. The air was heavy with silence. The alien girl, still on her knees, felt dust cling to her pale blue skin. Her forehead bled from the sharp stone that had cut her. The crowd surrounded her, their faces filled with anger, their voices echoing through the street. But now their eyes shifted. Someone was stepping forward. A human man, tall and calm, walked into the circle. His boots crunched on the gravel, slow and steady. The crowd parted slightly as he moved, unsure what he planned to do. His eyes were fixed on the girl. The alien girl lifted her head, weak and trembling. She had expected another stone, another kick. Another cruel word. But instead she saw his face. It was not twisted with hate. It was not full of laughter. It was serious, sharp, and strong. His jaw was tight and his eyes burned with something she had not seen in a long time. Anger, yes, but not directed at her. It was anger at the crowd. Whispers spread through the people. Who is he? Why is he walking toward her? Is he mad? The boy who had thrown the first stone stood proudly near the front. His friends slapped his shoulders, cheering him on. He bent down again, fingers curling around another stone. He wanted to show everyone that he was brave. He wanted to be the hero in their eyes, the one who drove the alien away. He weighed the stone in his hand and the crowd grew louder. Throw it. Throw it again, they shouted. His chest swelled with pride. His eyes darted to the man who had stepped forward. For a moment his hand shook. But then he grinned and threw. The stone flew fast through the air, spinning under the gray sky. The alien girl flinched, closing her eyes, ready for the pain. But the pain never came. A hand had risen. The man caught the stone mid-flight. It smacked hard into his palm, but he didn't flinch. He only dropped it to the ground. The sound of it hitting the dirt rang louder than the shouts. The crowd gasped. Some cursed. The boy's grin faded. The man stepped closer, standing between the alien girl and the people. His back was straight, his arms at his sides, but his presence felt strong, like a wall of stone that could not be moved. He looked over the crowd with cold eyes. Enough, he said, his voice low but sharp. The single word cut through the noise like a blade. The people hesitated. Some stepped back, but others grew angrier. She doesn't belong here, one man shouted. She brings danger, a woman cried. Move aside, fool, another yelled. The man didn't move. He stood tall, his shoulders square. She has done nothing to you, he said. And yet you throw stones at her like cowards. The crowd erupted. Voices clashed in anger. Some shouted at him to leave. Others spat at his feet. The boy who had thrown the stone burned with shame and rage. He bent again, grabbing another rock, this time bigger. His friends egged him on. Do it! Show him he can't stop us. The alien girl, still on her knees, looked up at the man. Her lips trembled as she whispered, Why? Why are you helping me? Her voice was weak, almost lost in the chaos, but he heard her. He did not turn to her yet. His eyes stayed on the crowd. His chest rose and fell with steady breaths. He knew more stones would come. He knew they would not stop easily. But he also knew he could not walk away. The boy hurled the larger stone. It shot through the air, fast and hard. The alien girl screamed, certain this time it would crush her. But the man stepped sideways. The stone slammed into his shoulder. The sound of impact was loud. He gritted his teeth, but he did not fall. He stood firm. Blood ran down from the cut, staining his shirt. The crowd gasped again. Some cheered, others grew silent. The boy's eyes widened. He had expected the man to crumble, but he had not. The man turned his head slightly, looking back at the alien girl. His face softened for a brief moment. Don't be afraid, he said quietly. Her wide eyes filled with shock. No one had ever spoken those words to her here. Not once. The crowd was restless now. Some were confused. Some were furious. The man had broken the order of things. No one was supposed to protect her. She was supposed to be hated, pushed down, broken until she disappeared. But here he stood, taking the stones, taking the pain, standing as her shield. The alien girl felt her chest tighten. For the first time in her life, she felt something strange and new. Hope. But the crowd was not done. A woman in the back picked up another rock. Then a man grabbed a stick. Others followed. The air was thick with anger. The man planted his feet firmly on the ground. He knew what was coming. He was ready. He would not move. And so the second storm began. The sky above the town darkened as the noise of the crowd grew wild. Stones were lifted high, voices shouted in anger, and the alien girl remained on the ground, trembling, weak, and bleeding. But between her and the furious people stood a single figure. A human man. His back was broad, his stance unshaken, his eyes blazing with silent fire. He had caught one stone. He had taken another on his shoulder. And still he did not move away. His presence was like a wall no one expected. The alien girl raised her eyes slowly to him. She had seen hate in every human face she had ever met, but this face was different. The lines on his forehead were sharp, his jaw set tight, but his gaze carried no hate for her. Only strength, only defiance against those who wished her harm. The crowd felt it too. Their shouts stumbled into silence for a moment. It was strange to see one of their own standing against them. Whispers rippled like waves. Why is he helping her? He must have lost his mind. He will regret this. The boy who had thrown the stone clenched his fists. His pride burned. He wanted to prove himself brave. He picked up another rock and shouted, "She doesn't belong here!" He hurled it with all his strength. The man shifted slightly. The stone struck his arm with a dull thud. He gritted his teeth but stood firm. Blood streaked down his skin, but he did not falter. The alien girl gasped. "Why?" She whispered again, her voice shaking. "Why do you take this pain for me?" He turned his head just enough for her to see his face. His eyes softened for only a moment. His words were low but steady. "Because someone must." Those words struck her deeper than the stones ever had. No one had ever spoken for her. No one had ever chosen to stand by her side. And now this stranger, a human, had done what even her own kind could not. The crowd roared again, furious now. They pushed forward, waving their hands, shouting curses. "Traitor!" one man screamed. "You defend that thing?" Another raised a wooden stick, his face red with rage. But the man did not flinch. He spread his arms wider, shielding the alien girl completely with his body. His voice rose above the noise. "She has done nothing to you, nothing. Yet you treat her like she is not alive. You treat her worse than an animal. Shame on you." His words stung the crowd, but they fueled their anger as well. No one wanted to be called a coward in front of others. No one wanted to feel weak. The boy's friends began to chant. "Stone her! Stone her! Stone them both!" The chant spread quickly until the entire crowd shouted it together. The sound echoed through the street like thunder. The alien girl pressed her hands to her ears, trembling harder. She wanted to disappear into the ground. But the man stayed tall, unmoving, as if their words had no weight. One stone flew, then another. They struck his back, his side, his legs. He bent slightly under the blows but refused to fall. The alien girl cried out, "Stop! Please stop." Her cry silenced a few voices for a heartbeat. Her tone was not angry. It was desperate, broken, but the crowd had already gone too far. Their hearts were filled with fear and hate. They believed that if they broke her, they would be safe. The man's body shook with the impact of more stones. His shirt tore. Blood ran freely down his skin. "Still," he whispered without turning back. "Stay down. Don't move. I will not let them touch you." The alien girl's vision blurred with tears. She had never believed a human could be like this. For the first time, she saw what courage truly looked like. But the storm was not over. A man from the back shoved through the crowd carrying a heavy stick. He raised it high, ready to bring it down on the human's head. The alien girl screamed. The human turned just in time. The stick cracked against his arm. He staggered but did not fall. He locked eyes with the attacker, his face burning with rage. "If you wish to strike, strike me. But leave her alone." The attacker stepped back, unsettled. No one had expected such resolve. No one had expected one man to stand against so many. For the first time, cracks appeared in the crowd's anger. Some looked uneasy. Some lowered their stones. But others grew more furious, unwilling to let this defiance stand. The alien girl crawled closer to the man's feet. Her voice was weak, trembling. "Why do you care if I live or die? I am nothing to them. I am nothing to you." The man finally looked down at her. His face was bleeding, his body battered, but his voice was clear. "You are not nothing. You are alive. That is enough." His words struck the crowd harder than any weapon could. They echoed in the silence that followed. Alive. Enough. For the first time, the alien girl believed it. And though the stones had not stopped falling, something unseen had begun to shift in the air. The street shook with voices. The chant of the crowd grew louder, stronger, like the pounding of drums before a battle. Stones and sticks filled their hands, faces twisted with rage and eyes burned with hate. At the center of it all stood the man, his body already bruised and bleeding. Behind him, crouched low and trembling, was the alien girl. The man's breath came heavy. Every strike hurt, but his feet did not move. His arms spread wide, shielding her from every angle he could. His shirt was torn, his skin marked red with cuts, but his resolve was unbroken. Another stone flew. It struck his ribs with a sharp crack. He grunted, but stayed upright. Then another rock smashed against his leg, nearly knocking him to the ground. The alien girl gasped. reaching out as if to steady him, but he raised a hand. "Stay down," he said firmly. "Don't move." Tears filled her large eyes. She had never seen anyone fight for her like this. She had never seen anyone bleed for her. The boy who had started it all grinned with cruel pride. "Hit him harder. Break him," he shouted. His friends cheered. One picked up a heavy stone, sharp and jagged, and hurled it with all his strength. The stone hit the man's forehead. Blood streamed down his face, blinding one of his eyes. He staggered, his knees bending. The crowd cheered wildly, believing he would finally fall. But he didn't. With a deep breath, he straightened again. His voice rose above the noise, rough but strong. "Is this your courage? Dozens of you against one unarmed girl? You call this strength?" Some in the crowd froze. His words carried weight. Shame flickered in a few eyes, but pride and anger quickly drowned it out. A woman at the front spat at him. "She is not one of us. She will bring ruin," she screamed. She threw her stone. It struck his chest, forcing the air from his lungs. He coughed but did not fall. The alien girl clutched the edge of his torn shirt. Her voice shook. Please stop. You'll die." He looked down at her through blood-stained eyes. "Better me than you," he whispered. The words cut through her like fire. She had been hated since the day she arrived. No one had ever said her life mattered. No one until now. The crowd pushed closer. More stones rained down. They bounced off his shoulders, slammed into his back, and tore his skin. He staggered, his body trembling, but each time he steadied himself again. The alien girl pressed her hands against her ears to block the screams and cheers. Still, she peeked at him through her tears. He stood like a wall, broken yet unyielding. A man with a stick stepped forward. He swung hard, striking the man's arm. The sound of bone against wood cracked through the air. The man dropped to one knee in pain, but still he placed his body between the girl and danger. The crowd cheered, convinced he would fall for good this time. But slowly, painfully, he rose again. His chest heaved. Blood dripped into the dirt. His face was pale, and yet his voice, though weak, rang clear. "You can break my body," he said, "but you will never break my choice." Silence rippled through a part of the crowd. Some lowered their stones. Children stared with wide eyes, unsure if what they were seeing was bravery or madness. The alien girl reached up with trembling hands, trying to wipe the blood from his face. Her voice was soft, desperate. Why do this for me?" He met her gaze. His lips curved in the faintest smile, though his body screamed with pain. "Because you are not alone anymore." The word struck her heart like lightning. Something inside her changed. For the first time, she felt warmth in this cold world. For the first time, she felt seen. The boy who had started it all grew furious. His pride burned. He could not let this stranger turn the crowd against him. He bent low, picking up the largest stone yet. It was heavy, jagged, sharp. He lifted it high above his head. The alien girl's breath caught. She knew what was coming. This stone would kill. The man saw it too. He braced himself, body already weak, legs trembling. He knew he could not stop it. Yet he did not move away. He raised his arms, ready to take the blow. The crowd hushed, waiting for the strike. The stone hung in the air, heavy in the boy's hands. He shouted, his voice shaking with fury, and prepared to throw. The alien girl's heart pounded. Fear froze her body. But then, deep within her, something stirred. Something she did not know she had. As the boy's arm pulled back, her eyes glowed faintly. Her small hand reached out, trembling but firm. For the first time, she did not only hide. For the first time, she tried to stand. The boy threw the stone. The alien girl screamed. The man stepped forward to block, and the world seemed to hold its breath. The heavy stone flew through the air, sharp edges spinning, cutting the wind. The crowd held its breath, waiting to see blood. The alien girl screamed, her small body shaking. But at the last moment, the man stepped forward again. The stone struck him across the side of his head. The sound was sickening. He staggered, knees almost buckling, blood rushing down his face. The crowd roared with cruel cheers. Some laughed, others shouted in triumph. The boy who had thrown it raised his fists high, proud of his strike. But the man did not fall. Slowly, painfully, he lifted his head. His one good eye glared at the boy, unbroken. His lips parted, and though his voice was weak, it carried across the silence that followed. "Is this what you call strength? Hurting one who cannot fight back?" Some of the crowd shifted uncomfortably. The words pricked at their pride. But the boy only sneered. He bent for another stone. The alien girl's trembling hands pressed against the man's back. She could feel the blood soaking through his shirt. "Please," she whispered, "don't do this for me. You will die." The man turned his head slightly, just enough for her to see the faintest smile through the blood. "If I must die," he said softly, "then I will die protecting you." Her breath caught. No one had ever spoken like that to her. All her life she had been a burden, a curse, a target for hate. Yet this man, a stranger, saw her differently. He stood not because he had to, but because he chose to. The crowd surged again, angry at his words. More stones were lifted. More sticks waved in the air. But the girl, for the first time, felt something stir deep inside her chest. She crawled closer, her small frame pressing against his back as though her presence could hold him steady. "Why?" she asked again, louder this time. Her voice cracked but carried emotion. "Why do you care if I live?" The man's answer came slowly, each word strained by pain. "Because life matters. Because you matter." The alien girl's large eyes filled with tears. She pressed her hands against his torn shirt, not to push him away but to steady him. For the first time, she no longer wanted to disappear. She wanted to stand. The boy threw another stone. It hit the man's side hard. He bent forward, groaning, but the girl's small hands pushed against him, keeping him upright. "Don't fall," she whispered. "Please don't fall." The man looked down at her. His vision blurred, his body weak, but he saw the fire growing in her eyes. Something had changed. She was no longer only afraid. She was beginning to fight her fear. The crowd noticed too. "Look at her!" someone shouted. "The alien dares to stand!" The chant began again, cruel and loud. "Stone them. Stone them!" But the girl's hands shook less now. She moved from behind him and stood slightly at his side. She was still small, still fragile, but she no longer crouched in the dirt. She lifted her head, her wide eyes glowing faintly with strange light. The man saw it and whispered, "Good. Don't let them break you." The crowd hesitated, unsettled by the change. Children hid behind their parents. Some grown men frowned, unsure if they were seeing fear or power in her stance. The boy grew angrier. "Don't just stand there. Hit them both!" He bent down for another stone. His friends copied him. The girl felt her body shake. Fear still ran through her, but alongside it was something new. Strength. She remembered his words, "You are not nothing. You are alive. That is enough." Her hands glowed brighter now, faint but visible. She did not understand it, but she felt it deep inside her. A spark of power, small but real. The man noticed the glow but said nothing. He only gave her a short nod, as if to say, "You can." Another stone flew. This time, before it could strike, it slowed in the air. It wobbled, then fell harmlessly to the ground. The crowd gasped. Some shouted in fear. Others stepped back. The alien girl stared at her glowing hands, stunned. She had never used her gift before. She had always hidden it, afraid it would make them hate her more. But now, for the first time, she used it, not to hurt, but to survive. The man smiled faintly despite his pain. "See? You are stronger than you know." Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time not only from fear. For the first time in her life, she felt seen, valued, and strong. The crowd, however, grew restless. Fear turned to rage. "Witch!" someone shouted. "Monster!" another screamed. They raised their stones higher, ready to strike again. But the bond had been formed. The girl no longer hid. The man no longer stood alone. Together, broken and bleeding, they faced the storm side by side. The alien girl's voice rose, weak but steady. "I am not your enemy. I am not your curse." She pointed at the man beside her. "He stands for me, and I will stand too." The crowd fell into uneasy silence. For the first time, they heard her voice not in fear, but in defiance. And in that silence, something new was born. The street was silent for a moment. Dust floated in the air. The alien girl's voice had broken through the noise, steady and brave. Her glowing hands dimmed, but her words still echoed. "He stands for me. And I will stand too." The crowd shifted uneasily. Some eyes widened in shock. Children clung to their mothers. A few people lowered their stones. But the boy who had started it all clenched his fists in rage. His pride burned hotter than ever. "She dares to speak back," he shouted. "She's using tricks. She's dangerous." Others joined him quickly, their fear feeding their hate. A man shouted, "Don't be fooled." This is how it begins. A woman cried out, "She will curse our homes." The chant rose again, louder and harsher than before. Monster! Monster! The sound pounded like thunder, filling the narrow street. The human man stood tall, though blood dripped freely down his face and arms. He planted his feet firmly in the dirt, his body like a shield between the girl and the crowd. But this time, the alien girl no longer crouched behind him. She stood at his side, small but steady, her wide eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. The crowd grew restless. Anger twisted their faces. Someone shoved forward holding a torch. The orange flame flickered wildly, painting the walls with light. Soon more torches rose, swaying in the dark like angry stars. The alien girl's breath quickened. Firelight reflected in her eyes. She remembered nights of fear, hiding alone in the forest, always running from flames. Her hands trembled, but the man's voice came steady. "Don't fear them," he whispered. "Fear makes them stronger. Stand with me." She looked at him, bloodied, broken, yet unyielding, and she nodded. The boy lifted his arm again, pointing at them both. "If he wants to die with her, then let him," he shouted. "We'll burn them out." The crowd roared in agreement. They pushed closer, the circle tightening. The girl felt the heat of the flames on her skin. The air thickened with smoke and anger. The man stepped forward, raising his voice so all could hear. "Look at yourselves," he shouted. "Do you see what you have become? You fight not with honor but with hate. You strike at a child, at one who has never harmed you. You shame yourselves." For a brief second, silence fell again. His words hit deep. A few people lowered their torches, their eyes flickering with doubt. But others shouted louder, drowning out reason with fury. The alien girl's small hands glowed brighter. The stones at her feet trembled. The crowd gasped as dust rose in the air. She didn't know how she did it. She only felt the power respond to her fear and her courage. The boy's face twisted. "See, she is a monster," he screamed. "Kill them both before she destroys us." The chant returned, stronger, fiercer. The crowd began to throw not just stones, but fire. A burning torch flew through the air, landing near the girl's feet. She stepped back, her eyes wide. The flames spread quickly across the dirt. The man stomped on the fire, beating it out with his boot even as more torches flew. Smoke rose. The street filled with heat and chaos. The alien girl's chest tightened. Her glowing hands lifted almost by instinct. The next torch flying toward them suddenly stopped in midair. The flames hissed, then died. The torch dropped harmless to the ground. Gasps filled the crowd. Some stumbled backward. Fear gripped them. "Witchcraft!" one man cried. "She'll bring ruin to us all." But others hesitated. They had seen her stop fire without harm. They had seen her protect, not attack. A few faces softened with uncertainty. The human man raised his voice again. "Open your eyes. She is no monster. She could strike you down right now, yet she does not. She chooses to protect even after all you've done. Tell me, who is the monster here? Her or you?" His words echoed in the firelight. The crowd split. Some dropped their stones, ashamed. Others shouted louder, unwilling to surrender their hate. The boy, his pride broken, grew desperate. He grabbed another torch and screamed, "If no one else will do it, I will." He charged forward, fire raised high. The alien girl froze, her heart pounding. The man moved to block him, but his body was too weak. His knees shook. He would not last another heavy strike. In that moment, the girl stepped forward on her own. Her glowing hands lifted, brighter than ever. The boy swung the torch down. But before it could touch her, the flames burst apart in a flash of light, scattering into harmless sparks. The boy stumbled back, his eyes wide in terror. The torch dropped from his hands. The crowd gasped again. Some whispered in awe. Others trembled with fear. The alien girl's voice rang clear now, stronger than before. "I am not your curse," she said. "I am not your enemy. If you cannot see that, then it is your hate that will destroy you, not me." Her words silenced many. Even the boy stepped back, his pride shattered. The man, weak but smiling faintly, placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "You see?" he whispered. "You are stronger than them." The crowd stood frozen, split between hate and shame, fear and doubt. The night burned with tension, every breath heavy with the question, would they strike again or would they finally listen? And in the shadows, beyond the firelight, unseen eyes watched the scene unfold. Another presence, silent and patient, waited. Something greater than the crowd was coming. The street was filled with smoke and firelight. Stones lay scattered in the dirt, stained with blood. The crowd stood in a circle, torn between fear and anger, shame and pride. The alien girl stood tall now, her hands still glowing faintly. Beside her, the human man wavered, his body weak but his stance unbroken. The boy who had led the attack stepped back, his torch gone, his pride crushed. His eyes darted around, searching for support, but the voices of the crowd had grown uncertain. No one cheered him anymore. Still, anger lingered. A man shouted, "She is a danger!" "We cannot trust her." Another added, "If we let her stay, more will come." The chants tried to rise again, but they no longer carried the same strength. The alien girl lifted her head. Her voice, though soft, cut through the noise. "I never came here to harm you. I came only to live. You threw stones, but I did not strike back. You brought fire, but I put it out. Tell me, who is the danger here? Me or the hate you carry?" Her words echoed across the street. For the first time, many in the crowd lowered their eyes. Mothers pulled their children close, ashamed. A few men dropped their stones into the dust. The human man, swaying from blood loss, raised his voice one last time. "You saw her power tonight. She could have destroyed you. But she didn't. She chose mercy. That is something greater than all your anger." Silence followed. Only the crackle of dying flames filled the air. The people stared, some with fear, some with guilt. The boy who had thrown the first stone clenched his fists, but no one stood with him now. His voice cracked as he tried to shout again, but it sounded weak, hollow. The alien girl stepped forward, her small frame glowing in the firelight. She was still afraid, but courage pushed her words out. "I'm not alone anymore. He stood for me when no one else would. And now I will stand for myself. If you cannot see me as one of you, then so be it. But know this, I am not afraid of you anymore." Her declaration struck the crowd harder than any weapon. The circle shifted. Some stepped back, others turned away. The fire in their eyes dimmed, replaced by uncertainty. The boy, desperate to reclaim his pride, snatched up one final stone. He raised it high, shouting, "Then I will finish this myself." He hurled it with all his strength. The crowd gasped. The stone spun through the air, but it never touched her. The alien girl lifted her hand. The stone froze in midair, inches from her face. Slowly it dropped harmlessly to the ground. The glowing light around her faded, leaving only silence. The boy's face turned pale. He stumbled back, his courage gone. No one followed him. The human man stepped forward, his voice weak but steady. "It is over." The crowd lowered their heads. One by one they began to leave, their chants gone, their anger broken. Only shame and silence followed them as they disappeared into the night. The street emptied until only the man and the girl remained. The flames died to embers. The dust settled. The fight was over. The alien girl turned to the man. His face was pale, his body trembling. Blood stained his torn shirt. "You are hurt," she whispered, tears in her wide eyes. He gave her a tired smile. "It was worth it." She touched his arm gently. Her voice shook. "You did not have to do this." "Yes," he said softly. "I did. Because you should never stand alone." The girl's heart swelled with something she had never felt before. Belonging. For the first time, she believed she was more than a curse. For the first time, she believed she had a place. The man staggered, and she rushed to steady him. Together they walked away from the street, leaving behind the stones, the fire, and the silence of those who had watched. But as they disappeared into the night, unseen eyes followed them from the shadows. A figure, cloaked and silent, had watched everything. Its eyes gleamed with interest. The crowd may have turned away, but something greater had begun. The alien girl was not just a victim anymore. She was something more, and others would come looking for her. The battle was over, but the war had only just begun.